But when did you decide to leave California? What triggered that?
What kind of triggered that was um, my at one point, being that me and my mom were so close, her wanting me to come home even more often than I was. And I just remember coming home one Christmas and I said, you know what, mom, I'll stay longer than just through Christmas. Like, how about I stay for a few months? And my mom's always like, you guys can, like, all her kids, all of you can stay here forever. Like, you don't ever have to go nowhere. Like, she's like that. She loves having her kids around. And I was like, well, I'm not going to stay forever, and I was in a relationship at the time too. Um, but I said, I'll stay for a little bit. And it might have been, I don't know, it was like a couple months later that my dad started not doing well. He was having these weird pains. And um, I remember us making two trips to the ER. And the second trip, they called the following morning and said, you guys need to go to the cancer center and meet with this doctor. And it's like when someone calls you and tells you that in the morning, it doesn't really
Mm.
process. You're just like, cancer center, doctor's name, what time? Okay. That's kind of how my mom took the message. And she woke me up and said, we got to take your dad to the cancer clinic in a couple hours. So get dressed. And I'm like, does she even know what she just said to me? Like,
Mhm.
that doesn't make sense. So after them doing a biopsy and my dad being diagnosed with um, AML, leukemia,
Wow.
um, everything changed for me then. And I made a conscious decision I had to decide, what am I going to do? Because my mom, um, that's her life partner. And I could just, that the day we got the results back and the look in her eyes, I just knew she was not going to be able to do this by herself. And I immediately, which has always kind of been my personality too, something clicked in. I said, I got to figure this out. And the people can call it convenient or that, oh, well, it's just that it worked out that way. I hadn't started a family of my own. So it was kind of easier for me to make that decision of leave where I'm at and move back home and help, you know, my mom and dad. So at first I was kind of going back and forth. And then I made the decision where I said, I need to be here. And, and they had kind of told us that, you know, my dad would probably have 12 months. And I just remember yeah, I would take him to chemo during the week, a couple times during the week. But it's funny because like as hard as that's to talk about too, because this is the month that my dad passed. Um, the best memories I have during that time was he loved Bruno Mars. And we get in the car and we would play Bruno Mars to chemo every time and sing along to Bruno Mars going and leaving chemo. And we did that the entire 12 months. It was like clockwork. He had to listen to Bruno Mars to get himself like pumped up to do chemo. And um yeah. And I became the person that would take him all the time. It was very hard for my mom, and I could see that. Sometimes she would go and sit with him. but it was hard watching just the physical changes and that he went through. And yeah, that was a tough time, but I do have good memories. I think it transformed our relationship. We now had a different relationship than we did when I was a child, because yeah, you go through those parts too where it's not always great with your parents. You have your differences because you're getting older. You're just like, you guys don't know anything. I did that, and me and my dad would get into these dumb little arguments. But this kind of brought us back together again, where we connected with music. And he would tell me things that I don't think he told anybody else in the family. And we'd share these stories and these moments together. And he would ask me what I really thought about what was happening to him, or if I believed in, do I really believe in heaven, and do I believe in God? And because my dad was not a religious man. Like, we were Catholic, but he only went to church on holidays.
Easter and Christmas, yeah.
And he was a man of God. Like, he believed in God, but he wasn't a church going. He didn't read the Bible or anything like that. But yeah, we started having these really deep conversations about what happens in the afterlife and where do people really go. And he got to a point where he wasn't afraid anymore as to what was going to happen. So after that, it became harder for me to go back to California. Music was really not a priority at that point for me. Because then I saw my mom in her big house, now alone, after my dad passed. And she was depressed. And that was hard to watch. And she didn't want to move to California. She didn't want to do any of those things. She was like, no, I'm going to stay here. And then we all get together as siblings, and everyone has the conversation of, mom needs to sell the house, and mom needs to move into a smaller apartment and do this. And she was like, I'm not leaving my house. And I was supporting anything and everything that she wanted to do, because I didn't know what it felt like to be in her shoes, to lose your life partner. I just knew from being, from the perspective of being a daughter losing a parent. It's not the same. It's not the same grief, and it doesn't feel the same. And I understood that. And we started going to grief counseling together. And it was great. We started journaling. And I think it helped her a great deal, and it helped me a lot too, because it transformed my relationship with my mom. And it was like going through these different changes or experiences really helped me evolve as a person, or just evolve as a woman, because I had been living a certain life for a while, and now I was having like some trauma, some traumatic experiences, some real life shit was happening. And I had to navigate through that and figure it out. And I look back and I'm grateful for all of the experiences I had, as painful as many of them were. But yeah, and then then at that point I was still kind of going back and forth, but then I started going on that journey of healthcare too. And then that's, before that's when the psychology thing came up, and I was just like doing all of these different things, and music was just literally on the back burner. I wasn't touring, or I wasn't traveling. I wasn't singing anywhere. None of that. If you wanted to catch a performance of Tracie Spencer, you'd have to come to the house and hear me singing in the backyard, or in just, in the house. But I wasn't performing anywhere. I wasn't even writing. I couldn't even, that was blocked. I couldn't even have the ability to write a song.
I never participated in that kind of
and somewhere in between
us, or even loving us, on which I didn't miss you with.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No, okay.
They understand what those boys do in all
Play it.
And all these guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.